Ladies and gentlemen, and variations thereof, welcome to the Selectives Lorecast, a casual Elder Scrolls podcast. My name is Rotten Deadite, and with me today are...
I'm Andrew, also known as the White Guar.
And I am James, also known as Aramithius.
And it would help to actually put up a screen.
It would.
There you go.
Yeah.
You guys get that in the VOD. Hi.
Casual.
There we go.
Casual.
Casual Elder Scrolls podcast. And so today we're talking about Servant 17 because we're still working our way through. Today's a good sermon. It's, in my opinion, mostly comedy.
It's meta commentary. It's basically Vivec claiming responsibility for everything in the world ever,
which is not new to anybody.
No.
And so let's see. We last left off with Nerevar getting told off by sentient landscape on the moon, and we pick up basically where we left off. With Vivec saying, "I am an atlas of smoke," which is a quote from a I think it was a forum post when Kirkbride was talking about the invention of Lig.
Okay.
And I have it in the New Whirling School. Basically, all right, I'll just read it. One day, in a very special room in a very special office, kings were looking at a map of Tamriel. This is more than likely, I don't think we have a confirmation of this, but it was probably Kurt Kuhlman, Kirkbride, and...
Is this on the origin of the name Lig?
Uncle Ted, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, so one about the monkeys.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
They were new kings and old kings, and some of them only wanted money as kings. So they traced a path along this map to document how things may have happened and how they might not have happened yet. But there was only one map, so they passed it back and forth. The newest king drank lots of coffee and needed lots of it to see how exactly all of these ideas could fit. Boy, I've been there before.
Yep.
No matter how small, no matter how much money. His elder brother king had actually been hired a month before the newest, but started 8 days later than his younger impatient sibling. And there was a mighty king who had been there 3 months in a private office, and we all knew his name to be true, and we bowed our heads and called him Uncle, and Uncle Ted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We acknowledged that all kings were not rulers but equal, and therefore bonds of kinship. But so many ideas all at once. Whoops, the map got tore into quarters and the coffee spilt, and the kings did quickly sop up the mess, but yet still wanted their notes. Oh no, here was a queen at the door and she did not like this racket. Plus the monkeys were tired, so they threw the map of the kings into the trash. Then they went to their various stations and wrote what they remembered or did not think to write at all. But lo, and for some reason the alarm bell went off, lig-a-lig-a-lig-a-lig, and that shit meant fire, so the 3 monkeys grabbed the whole trash basket for no other reason than maybe our only chance to save a Tamriel they had danced around. One held the basket, the other held an inner door open, a third held an outer door in, but weirdly the sprinklers did not hit the trash can. So they got outside and dumped the contents of the trash because the basket at least held some water and the computers still held some notes. One monkey got really wet trying to do the right thing. The second got really mad about the queen for all the wrong things, and the third just stood there kicking through the trash for a real reason. Until, oh, look at these map parts all skewed about and drying weirdly, and the admixture of stains all unalike looked best from beneath. So then the monkeys that really cared about all else except those track lines across that drying and broken and backwards map. And they all nodded and smiled and said, yes, that is how we will remember everything everyone in that room ever said. And the alarm then sputtered out one last leg, and that made the Monkey Kings laugh nervously, and they rolled those maps and said, I'm going back in, duck your head under the broken light bulb swinging to and forth in that one room that will never be used again because smoke. I am an atlas of smoke, said these pieces of the map, and we knew it to be called Lig.
Ah.
There you go.
Oh yeah, I love that piece. Even though
it's beautiful.
So
here, I'm gonna drop a link in chat for this.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
To the fandom, I'm sorry.
Weirdly straightforward, yeah. It's colorful, but kind of, yeah.
Yeah, incredibly.
So with this, Vivec became greater than he had been, and these were the days of Resdania when the Chimer and Dwemer lived under the wise and benevolent rule of the Almsivi and their champion, the Hortator. Seek me without effort, for I take many steps.
That's interesting, because the preface to that, the kind of I am the Atlas of Smoke, and with this, Vivec came greater than he had been. That's the only time that I can think of that these were the days of Resdania, where that has a preface to it. I mean, these were the days of Resdania is always at the start of a lesson, whereas this is now the third sentence in.
Yeah,
which is a bit strange.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure what that even means, but I'm just wondering if it means anything, or maybe I'm finding significance in something devoid of detail.
Yeah, that's
your
job.
I'm trying to look at that in a structural sense. I mean, what would be the point in separating those two? These were the days of Resdania, and I am an Atlas of Smoke, but this Vivec became greater than he had been. Unless it's to say that it's not so much the time and place that we're worried about. It's we're being told about Vivec's state. And that is the so let me backtrack here a little bit. So in journalism, in news writing, we're taught to write in an inverse triangle form. I start with the broad information up top, and then get into more detail as you go down. I mean, pick up your local newspaper and just look at the first few sentences. You'll find the first few are extremely vague, and then they'll go into more detail later on. So with that kind of, or when we're taught in school how to write a paragraph, right? Our topic sentence. This is the main, most important part, the main idea we're trying to get across to our reader. So if we take that idea and we apply it to this, I am an Atlas of Smoke, with this Vivec became greater than he had been, then our topic sentence is I am an Atlas of Smoke, with this Vivec became greater than he had been, which means that is a super important idea for what's to follow, and that we may get more information about what that means later on. So it's not technically the start, it's just saying, hey, pay attention to this.
Yeah.
That's kind of, I mean, again, maybe I'm overanalyzing it.
I've also had a thought. Oh no, it doesn't happen in. Oh, sorry, I've entirely disproved that looking through. I was vaguely thinking that it was a way of kind of prefacing the lessons of ruling kings, and that does happen. It does say that. It does say that, and then after that, but the Hortator would become confused and go to Vivec, but not every occurrence of that happens in that way. It's so. But yeah, you're right. The thing of using it as a framing device. Although we get taught journalism or journalistic writing a little different. It's the idea of you present the whole narrative in a short way at the beginning, and then you go into depth. It's similar, but not quite so.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not sure how much that changes between the U.S. and the U.K. Because I mean, we have Associated Press style. As a handbook they print out every year, and you're expected to know all the, where periods go and when to capitalize certain things in a certain way, what words to use, what words to avoid, that kind of thing.
And yes, Barker, that's how explanations are written. That you tell them what you're going to tell them, and then you tell them what you just told them.
Yeah, and you tell them why you told them. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, that's one of the. So my mom is a teacher too, and she's been teaching for 30 years. And when I was starting teaching and I was having trouble creating my lessons, that's exactly what my mom told me. You tell them what you're going to tell them, then you tell them what you told them.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, all right. All right, I get it.
Yeah. But okay.
So I don't really like the problem is that Vivec becoming greater than he has been is kind of that happens at the end of this sermon, not just at the beginning. It happens again.
Yeah. So I wonder if that's like a foreshadowing. Hey, here's what's coming up.
Yeah.
The next episode preview that they forgot to put at the end of the previous episode, and so they tacked it on this one instead.
Previously on Dragon Ball Z. Yeah. So let's see. Seek me without effort, for I take many shapes. I don't have a whole lot of notes on this. It's basically
that looks like a continuation of I am an Atlas of Smoke.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think that it's about seek without effort is a Crowleyan kind of dilemmic idea.
It's also a magic eye puzzle.
Oh, all right. But it's very yeah, kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like if you're trying to find something that takes so many different forms, happening into it might arguably be your best bet.
Yeah.
But anyway, the Hortator was still trying to subdue the heavens with an axe. What are you going to do?
Not gonna work.
He was thrown out of the Library of the Sun by the power of Magnus. Now, why would he go to the Library of the Sun? Because the creators of the previous sermon told him that he is a library of stolen ideas, that he's decidedly solar, which is to say a library of stolen ideas. And he heard that and went, "That's where I'm going next," and just fucked off to the Library of the Sun.
I see this as Vivec said, "Yeah, reach heaven by violence." He's like, "All right."
Yeah. And so he goes and beats up the moons because they're first. You know,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then
So
and then they mentioned something about the Library of the Sun, so he's just like, "All right." And then as he goes there, he's just stumbling.
Man,
Look. To be
he's
fair,
like
Nerevar
Kronk.
did not have quest markers back then, so
No.
you know, yeah, all right.
No, the dude's Kronk. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, Patrick Warburton doing his voice.
Yeah. Oh, you mean this poison? Cusco's poison. The
Poison
for Cusco. That poison.
Discuss poison. Not poison. Yeah.
Vivec found him in a grub field outside the swamps of the Deshan Plain, which is it's in the ESO. I didn't put much into it. I should go back and update this because I think it came out. They walked for a span in silence, for Nerevar had been humbled and Vivec still had mercy in his hand. That's nice of him.
Yeah, he's feeling kind.
Soon they were walking across the eastern sea to the land of the snakes and snow demons. This is Tsesi or Akabir.
Yes.
It's well, generally speaking, people are pretty sure it's Akabir.
Well, yeah. I mean, Land of Snakes is the Saesi and Snow Demons is the Kamal.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's also east.
And it's in the east. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry.
Yeah.
Vivec wanted to show the Hortator the fighting styles of foreign tongues. So, I seem to recall there being some conversation in the lore community about the Akavir having Thum.
Yes, the Ki.
Ki, yeah.
Right. Okay. Good. So fighting styles of foreign tongues. This is okay. So the Akaviri arts were supposedly taught to the blades because as like a sort of an assistance to help the blades fight dragon.
Yes.
Which if I understand correctly, Akavir does not have dragons.
Nope, because they wiped them all out.
They wiped them all out. Right. Okay.
The Akavir
the very edge of my knowledge of Akavir right now.
Akavir supposedly means Dragonland because that's where they all came from. If you believe Wondrous Akavir, which it reads a bit fairy tale-ish, so maybe not.
Yeah,
but
yeah. I mean, it's like it begins like saying, yeah. It's like
it begins with Akka.
Yeah. They learned the idiom stroke from the pillow book of the Tsesi King. So the idiom stroke is another one of those like verbal martial arts things that like Vivec likes to have fun with in like language wise. You know, it's warrior poet style. I know where you're coming from. To put those eyebrows away, Andrew. The pillow book of the Tsesi King. So the first record of a pillow book that I could find is a document written by a Japanese courtesan, I think. Hold on, I have a link to it here.
I thought it was Indian.
She was a court lady to Empress Consort Teishi. Her name was Sei Shonagon. During the late 1990s and early 1000s of Heian period Japan. Yeah. The book was completed in 1002. It is a collection of essays, anecdotes, poems, and descriptive passages that have little connection to one another, except for the fact that they are all ideas and winds of Shonagon spurred by moments of her in her daily life. So it's just, you know, she was just fucking scribbling stuff down.
Yeah, it's they're records of court life. They're not they're not someone writing down pillow talk, which is kind of the implication
like
from
yeah.
the phrase. Yeah,
Um,
they're not. If you look at the pillow book that you find in Morrowind, there's one little line that is you cannot believe what you see or you think you see, which is basically saying that this is some kind of Kama Sutra, is what that line is implying. But that's absolutely not what pillow books were.
No, they were supposed to be a little bit like private journals. They were called pillow books because they were a book that you put on your pillow and wrote in before you went to sleep.
Yeah.
And
well, I think Almalexia was supposed to have a pillow book too. That I think Kirkbride wanted to write, and then he didn't end up doing it.
Yeah, he was going to write a whole, like, basically the 36 lessons book for Almalexia, which is going to be called the Pillow Book of. I don't know if it was called the Pillow Book of Almalexia. I think it was something else. And then and he was also apparently going to write something similar for Sothasil, but he said it was going to be a meditation on hell, or his idea of hell. Which, considering he had already linked Sothasil to memory at that point, I think it was probably going to be something about being stuck in your own memories of all the terrible things you've done, and etc.
Which actually makes sense if you play through Clockwork City and you get the little bits of regret that you can get.
Yeah, there's a lot of Sothasil not able to let go the things that he screwed up, and so. So it's shaped. They learned the idiom book from the Pillow Book of the Seisei King. It is shaped like the inside of this page. I had a theory about that. I apologize to people listening to this on a podcast. It's curved.
Yeah, pages in a book are curved because
if you
of
hold
how
if
you
hold the
them.
book open. Yes, and so the insight is curved, as in curved swords. Speaking of books.
Yes.
Do a quick aside. I have been in touch with the guy who made this book.
Handmade.
Handmade.
Is that the one where it's in Daedric? Oh,
yes.
Yes, Catalabelton is his name.
For those of you listening on the podcast, this is a hand-printed version of the 36 Lessons of Vivec. The 36 Lessons of Vivec. Yeah.
Styled to resemble the cover of the book in
that's fantastic.
In Morrowind. Yeah. And
I need one.
He has a early printing of it that when he was still trying stuff out. So it is one of a kind. It is gold gilded on the edges.
Oh man!
And like he was in the process of cutting it open, and so he kind of he says he screwed up the page, the cut. So instead of it being flat like this, it's actually curved inward, like that. Which I think looks fucking excellent. And the gold gilding is sort of worn, which makes it look, like authentic battle damage. And that one-of-a-kind book is going to be given away in 2 weeks for our Sermon 18 cast. So I'll hopefully announce this on Reddit, but we will. But everybody who shows up will be automatically entered just to be in chat. Just be in chat when we do the giveaway. And I will pay for shipping wherever it goes. And yeah.
Hell yeah. Dude. That's dope.
Dragon Lore mint condition 36. It's not mint condition. That's the point.
I gotta go buy one of those myself.
We got the unique cast off.
Yeah, we got the. Is he still making them? I don't know. Hold on a second. Let's see.
Because I would absolutely, I'd shell out $50 for that, easy.
Got a Facebook group. Here it is. On coffee.
And what'd you say his name was, just for
Cattle Abduction?
Yes. Cattle Abduction.
Here we go. 36 Lessons of Vivec. Stop. I'm going to link this in chat.
Yeah.
That should get you where you got to go, guys.
Cool. And before we move on to the next portion of the thing, I've just had a sudden theory of what's possibly going on with this sermon that I've not seen anywhere else, but that's possibly because I haven't looked too deeply into it. This idea of taking the Hortator to all places to learn different fighting styles. It feels like it's mirroring what happened to Vivec in the first few sermons, that Vivec is taking the Hortator on a very deliberate journey through different types of motions and all of that sort of stuff, so that the Hortator may learn something from them and go through a similar process to Vivec. I don't know
exactly.
whether that's
It's it's a common theme in most Asian martial arts, I think, that learning a fighting style expands the mind and evolves the spirit and brings wisdom just from its practice.
Yep.
That's certainly a big thing in wuxia novels, which is where I'm thinking of. That martial artists will practice internal martial arts and become very wise and intelligent, and then good martial artists will learn an evil style and suddenly become corrupted by it.
I mean, watch any dojo kung fu flick.
Pretty much.
Where one dojo comes in and challenges the other dojos, and
bit of the force baka, yep. A little bit.
I think of Man of Tai Chi? Is that
yes.
the one? With
the
Jet
one
Li?
with no, that Man of Tai Chi was the movie that Keanu Reeves directed or
that's
produced.
Right. No. There's one where a man knows Tai Chi, and it's not the Keanu Reeves one.
Jet Li does Tai Chi in a number of movies, not the least of which is I think the one that you're thinking of is about the guy.
Tai Chi Master.
Tai Chi Master. It's supposedly about the guy who invented it.
Yes. There's
a very fictionalized accounting of the,
the
invention of Tai Chi.
It's a bit stylized, yeah. But I mean, he's already a good martial artist and goes through this mental breakdown until he plays with a ball in some water, and then that gives him the miraculous insight where he now understands the cyclical, circular motions of Tai Chi and how to use them, and all of a sudden he's just legendary.
Is that a Wong Jing movie or a...
Oh, I don't remember. I watched it years ago. I mean, we could talk about the Iron Monkey or...
It's Yen Wu-ping. Yeah, okay. I couldn't remember who directed. I know Yen Wu-ping did the choreography, but I couldn't remember if he directed. So, the Ceci Serpents vowed to have their vengeance on the West at least 3 times. So, it's not easy to figure out how many times Akavir invaded Tamriel.
And there are, I think, 3 major incursions.
I had difficulty nailing down 3. I got 2. And
I feel like
there were a couple that sounded like they might have been...
Because there's the Sassy who came over during Riemann, or just before Riemann.
Yep.
And then they found Riemann. There was the Kamal that attacked just before ESO.
It's possible I might have missed the Kamal. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, because if you play through the third, I want to say is prior to Riemann. Did they show up before that in an invasion?
I don't see. That's what I'm saying. I found 2, but I don't know if those are the same ones.
Well, what was the other one?
Can't remember.
That's the thing.
It was a long time ago. Yep.
I think I've looked it up, and I think I've seen 2, which makes me think that Akavir is due to invade again, because this is kind of Vivec playing the prophet, so to speak, that they will come again.
Before it turned out that Elder Scrolls 6 was going to be in Hammerfell, I kind of thought that was going to be the plot of the next game, was that we were going to end up doing stuff with the Akavir.
Well, so I have a book in ESO that says the second Akaviri invasion. So there was one prior to the Kamal.
Johnny Anonymous suggests that there was a third. According to ESO, there was a third.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, because
that sounds right to me.
Yeah, because this book is talking about when the Kamal invaded and Vivec had to raise the sea to drown them all.
Yes,
I remember that.
Yeah, that was the second Akaviri invasion. Whereas, well, then I guess the first would be Riemann. So
it's confusing because I almost equated the ones where Vivec. I almost equated the one where Vivec had to raise the sea and the Kamal invasion that formed the Ebonheart Pact.
Yeah,
the timelines make me think that they're almost the same thing.
Yeah,
and
I think so too.
The other one is tribunal grandstanding.
The Riemann dynasty already happened. That's already
Yeah.
over during ESO. So the second one would. So there would have to be a third one after
Right.
ESO.
Which
Just-
I love the idea that it hasn't happened yet, and that this is foreshadowing, and that and I also
Which
strongly
sounds like
suspect
two.
that Kirkbride wrote 3 times and was just like, fuck it, and like had
Yeah.
no
Well-
idea if there had been 2 or 3 or whatever.
Plus, if you wanted to be pedantic about it, the invasion of the ESO timeline, or the one that formed the Evanhart Pact and so on, was the Kamal. It wasn't
Yeah.
the Stacey.
Right.
Yes.
So
Yeah. The
there's
Stacey
even
came
more
over
to come.
for Raymond. Yeah. Yes. Maybe Tang Mo will show up.
Oh, sure.
I love that.
hmm.
So they walked farther and saw the spiked waters at the edge of the map. This is a reference to a map bug in Redguard, famously. UESP offers you a very helpful screenshot. Here, the spirit of limitation gifted them with a spoke and bade them find the rest of the wheel. Okay, so already we're on to, Arbic wheel symbolism. Get used to that shit.
Yep.
The Hortator said the edge of the world is made of swords. Vivec corrected him. They are the bottom of the world's teeth. So this is something that I figured out while doing the 36 lessons, and immediately jumped on to, I think it was IRC at the time, and was like, oh my god, you guys, and I told everybody about it, and all the old school lorebeards were like, yeah, dude. So if you ever have that experience, it happens to everybody, don't worry about it. But the realization was that we know that Mundus has a mind because the state gradient echo of Mundus Centrex is literally is an X-ray or a CAT scan of the mind of Mundus. That's the Mundus Centrex. A Centrex is the center of a post office system. So information, the center of information. It has teeth, as we see in this sermon. It has 5 corners, which we know from Da Vinci's help.
Vitruvian Man.
Vitruvian Man is the limbs of the body. It has a throat, because we see one in Skyrim. Therefore, the world is kind of like a giant gaping head of a probably dead corpse.
So then when the Charman says I put a star in the world's mouth to murder it.
He's talking about the center of Mundus itself. He's talking about so the whole of Mundus is one giant open mouth.
Yeah. Which,
and
right.
But also why in God's name would you put something in, why would you put anything in a mouth? It's because you intend it to be eaten. And so that's where there's a number of people, including I think Mankar Cameron, who suggests that Mundus is actually devouring mortals.
I did find the world's teeth in Skyrim one time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I went to Solstheim and then I just went towards Vardenfell.
And
I went towards Red Mountain and I climbed Red Mountain and I got to the other side of it and there were teeth.
And
I was like, hey!
Hey.
there's also part of me that's thinking, talking about the world's teeth, and wanting to look at it just from every possible angle. Is it worth thinking about Clockwork Mundus and the teeth of Cogs? Or is that something that's entirely different?
Damn.
That's, good. Good. Tasty.
Yeah, I mean, it goes totally against a lot of the kind of the body stuff that you're talking about, because it doesn't clue up, but it talks about it
works very well, especially because we're talking about the edge of the world's teeth being at the borders of water.
Yeah.
Yeah, those aren't swords, they're gears.
Damn.
Yeah.
Damn. All right. GG. Yeah, Baka. GG. Well played.
Well, I guess we have nothing else to do on this Lorecast. We should
pretty much,
we're done. Bye, everybody.
It does work.
Yeah. Although in fairness, you don't get rows of teeth in Cogs. So.
Oh well, I mean, if there are multiple cogs.
Yeah, I suppose. We'll have to think about that.
The bottommost roll.
I don't know.
The bottommost cog.
It works very well. And the more I think about it, the more I like it. So.
Okay, cool.
They walked to the north to the Elder Wood and found nothing but frozen bearded kings. So this Atmora is the Elden Wood. That's what Atmora means. It means old or elder wood. It lies to the north of Tamriel. There's actually quite a lot to talk about when it comes to Atmora, but thankfully not much of it is directly relevant to the 36 lessons, so I didn't talk about any of it. Apparently, I have here that it was once supposedly connected to the main Tamrielic continent,
Yes.
but separated early in the realm's existence while its mythical landscape, by which I mean the landscape generated by myth, was still solidifying. Considered alongside the legend of the Wandering Elnafe as the origin of the Manish races, it is possible that this separation could be the mythical interpretation of the original split between the races, as in, like, the two landmasses separated, and that's where the legend, the myth of the Elnafe and the Wandering Elnafe came from. The Wandering Elnafe wandered because they're fucking... the land on which their house was built just fucked off.
Well, it's that, and it got separated. Well, it depends on what your precise understanding of the creation of Atmora and the timelines for that when the Elnafe War happened, because the oceans get created as a result of the Elnafe War. But you also have vague records of everything kind of seeming like they're all in one place. Like you, I can't remember which account it is. I think it's the Heart of the World, which talks about Oriel could not save the Elder Wood, and so it was lost to men. And it talks about chasing people south and east and in various directions, which implies it's still Pangaea at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and there's and I mean, some of this is kind of contradictory to what we learn later.
Oh yeah.
About like the Nords and their origins.
Yep.
They supposedly, I mean, some of this isn't wholly represented in games or lore, but the idea that High Hrothgar is a spaceship and that they landed on the throne of the world, and that's where they came, like they jumped Kalpas, the Transkalpic Nords.
Yep. Transkalpic world-eating Nords was a lovely, lovely thread.
That led me to wonder if the Nords, when they leap dreams, or they leap Kalpas, that they become the dragons in that process. So they are the dragons that return.
That's certainly the implication of the 500 companions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And that's and Evan Smith and I had a long talk about this years ago. We liked the idea of Alduin being the failed last Dragonborn.
Right.
He didn't actually he left from that previous Kalpa too, but because he was transformed, he became Alduin. And so just his purpose got corrupted. But then Mirok comes along and screws that all up. So
the Nords do seem more sophisticated than you would think. Thank you. They do. Yeah. It's one of the things that I kind of like the most about Nordic lore is that it feels at times like they're headed straight towards mead-drinking jackasses, and then they just take a hard turn, and you find out that Shalador is one of the greatest mages to ever live, and he was Nordic, stuff like that.
Yeah.
One uplift for Bretons. Yeah, hold your breath, Baka.
Yeah, it would be nice.
Yeah, Year of the Bretons has been kind of lackluster in that regard.
They came to the west where the black men dwelt. This is, of course, Yokuda.
Yes.
And I have a note here about Yokuda being destroyed by the Pancrato sword in Vivec's sword meeting with Cyrus the Restless.
Yeah. Because isn't it Cyrus steps into Pancrato's sword? He learned it from like the Ansei memory stones.
Well, he learned the opening stance. Is the point?
Yes.
Is that he doesn't actually know the technique. He just knows the stance.
And Vivec, I think, didn't call the bluff.
No.
I think, or there's one interpretation that
he did.
Cyrus succeeded in the Pancrato sword, but Tiber Septim had to step in and rewrite time to make it so that it didn't happen.
Which was the running theory of the Tiber Septim sword meeting with Cyrus the Restless, that Tiber Septim shouted the world back into existence. But I have other theories about that. But so I do mention the Astra weapon in the Brahmastra, which is a Hindu weapon that when you read the description of it, it sounds exactly like a nuclear weapon. It's kind of hard to ignore how unbelievably accurate the description is.
That's probably why Oppenheimer quoted the Bhagavad Gita when they dropped the first bomb.
Hurled a single projectile charged with the power of the universe. By the way, don't ever let anybody tell you that Indian mythology isn't fucking maximum rule of cool.
Dude, there's some crazy shit.
An incandescent column of smoke and flame as bright as 10,000 suns rose with all its splendor. It was an unknown weapon, an iron thunderbolt, a gigantic messenger of death which reduced to ashes the entire race of the Vishnus and the Andharkas. The corpses were so burned as to be unrecognizable. Hair and nails fell out, pottery broke without apparent cause, and the birds turned white. After a few hours, all foodstuffs were infected. To escape from this fire, the soldiers threw themselves in streams to wash themselves and their equipment.
Yeah.
It's eerie.
That's even touching on radiation poisoning. That's,
yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, it is eerie how accurate, how close that is. Decontamination showers, exactly. So, for a year they studied under their sword saints, and then for another, Vivec taught them the virtue of the little reward.
Is that le petit mot? Is that what that is?
The little reward is his penis.
Yeah. I was thinking orgasms, but
Vivec chose a king for a wife and made another race of monsters, which ended up destroying the West completely. Is it possible that that Vivec is taking credit for the left-handed elves?
Yes.
It matches. It seems on brand.
Yeah.
You know.
And although he's also saying that the left-handed elves are the reason that Yokuda sank, which is not the case, but unless he's claiming responsibility for the hero dirge.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be for the same reason your house burnt down, because of the spiders.
Yeah. Could blame the spiders. Mm-hmm. Yeah. To a warrior chief, Vivec said, and this is the best apology I've ever heard: "We must not act and speak as if asleep."
Right.
That is a valuable lesson. Yes, that is. Vivec just completely fucks up a whole race, and then afterwards he takes like this looks like hiding behind a rock while all this shit is happening, and Vivec turns to a warrior chief and says, "You know, we really probably should consider the consequences of our actions."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
yeah. Sage nod. You're right, Pat.
Yeah.
Thanks, Vivec. Nerevar wondered if there was anything to learn in the South, but Vivec remained silent and only led them back to Red Mountain. And Hortator's already got bingo. Jesus, shit.
Wow.
The pet interruption was probably on there.
Nope,
Yeah.
dead air.
Nope.
Yeah.
My puppy's being very needy right now. Stop licking my keyboard, you fucking psycho. You don't know what kinds of germs are on there. Definitely don't lick my face after that.
The South is Elnafay in theory.
Right.
Old Elnafay, but Vivec doesn't want to talk about it because it doesn't exist.
Right. Well, it doesn't exist, theoretically. But more importantly, it's not a place you can go. Even if it does exist, it's not a place you can go. So Vivec doesn't go there.
I mean, is it not a place you can go the same way you can't go to the USSR right now?
No, well, okay, it depends. If you take the I cannot get Kirkbride's idea of the the cardinal points being like changing the movement of time. I can't get that out of my head. So, the theory here I can't imagine people don't know about this on this channel, but if this is the first time you're hearing it, then great. Here's a treat. In Tamriel, everything is happening now. Okay, the Tamrielic landmass, and I think probably the Isles. Everything is
Somerset Isles?
Yeah, the Somerset Isles. Everything is today, right? It's the present. Okay, if you head west, you head into the past. This is why Yokuda is back there. The Yokuda is in the past because it is stuff that happened before, and we don't go there anymore. We don't talk about it. All right. It's the reason why Yokuda is so hard to get to. In the east is the future, which is the opposite of the past. Obviously, that's the way it works. This is where Akavir is. It's the reason why people have such an incredibly hard time traveling to Akavir, is because, generally speaking, if you go into the future, then the future is just the present once you get there. So you're just back in Tamriel again. So you can't ever be in the future because no matter where you are, that's where you're at. Okay, so you're welcome. So then,
or as Johnny says, it's just time zones.
Yeah, just time zones. Yeah,
and I think it's worth pointing out that it has to do with the sun's rising and setting. That's why the future and past are assigned that way. East is the future because the sun rises over there. It's the new day. It's the coming day. But when the sun sets in the west, that's the day that happened. It's over.
Yes. Yeah. So then to the north, time slows down, which is why the what do you call it? The damn it.
Atmora?
Atmora is frozen, it said, because time has slowed down to the point where it no longer moves. And so it's just it's frozen in place. Yeah. To the south,
and I also want to say, if you want to have a fantastic exploration of what that might mean, Mojo started a thread on Atmora. It's kind of what's frozen Atmora thoughts, ideas, or something like that, somewhere in Reddit, where we just basically brainstormed a whole bunch of ideas of what frozen time would look like and how it would operate.
Okay.
It was absolutely fantastic to read. So if you can, find it.
In the south, time speeds up, which is why the southern waters are supposedly boiling, because it's so damn hot down there. Yeah. And you obviously can't go there without a lot of protection because it's so viciously fucking hot. And by the time you come back, it's going to be like 50. We're going to lose 51 years of this little maneuver. Space without a time versus time without a place. That's very good. So this is...
Sorry, no, I stand corrected. It wasn't Mojo. It was... Oh, no, it was Mojo. Sorry, I'm just misreading. Cool. I will found the link. I will put it in chat.
There's not any... I don't think there's any, like, air quotes, canon reinforcement of this, but every once in a while you'll read something in ESO that kind of sounds like this theory. So I think it kind of got out to the ZeniMax devs and they sort of ran with it. It was an idea that Kurt and Kirkbride both came up with together, and so I think there was something that they may have distributed to the ZeniMax devs to tickle their brains.
I know that Lehman, Tuttle, and Lawrence Schick and Kirkbride are all friends, at least on Facebook. So I don't remember the name of the new lore master after Tuttle.
I follow him on Twitter, but I can't remember what it is.
Yeah. He was a relatively new name. But so was Lehman, I guess. But there are those channels of communication. I know that Kirkbride emails with devs on a relatively regular basis.
So Nervar leads, or Vivec leads Nervar back to Red Mountain. Here, Vivec says is the last of the last. Within it, the Sharmat waits. Obviously, Red Mountain, by the way, also referred to as Dagother. I think on maps in Arena and Daggerfall, they point out the mountain is called Dagother, or it's just Dagother pointing at it. Yeah. Theoretically, it's where the name comes from. But they both knew that the time was not ready to contest the Sharmat. So they engaged in combat with each other. So I kind of suggest in the New Whirling School that this is sort of a veiled admission that the Sharmat did not technically exist during Nerevar's life, which is accurate because it's not actually possible for Dagother to exist, or the Sharmat to exist while Nerevar is still alive, because Nerevar dies before or possibly at the same time that Dagother pops into existence. So, Arena? Yes, good. I was right. And
there is also a book.
Yeah, Johnny, I agree.
I can't remember which one, but there is a lore book that does say Mount Dagoth somewhere.
Yeah.
If you search for that term, it'll come through. But it's only one book that ever refers to the mountain by that name.
So Vivec marked the Hortator in this way for all the Velati to see. He sealed the wound with the blessing of I am Azura.
I am Azura, the stars.
Well, yes, but also Sothasil and...
Yeah, I mean, it would make more sense if it was Boethia and not Azura, or Sothasil and not I am.
Yeah.
But
I suppose.
But I mean, at the same time, both I am and Azura are in a manner of optics. They're both considered beneficent figures.
They're
at least to the Dunmer.
They're also pretty decent candidates for being the mother of the Kaima or the Dunmer, whichever way you want to put it, because Almalexia is Mother Morrowind, and and there is one particular book that points out that Azura is often equated with the achievements of the Dunmer people as a whole.
Right. Yeah.
So it's that role that links them.
And I realized that we're reminded at the very end, the ending of the words is Almsavy, that I am, Vec, and Set are all the same. So yeah, it's specifying I am there, but in that respect, if the three of them are the same, then we can probably lump in Azura, Boethia, and what's the other one? Mephala. You probably, interchange them to some degree, and maybe that's what the writer is doing here. I say the writer because they're not necessarily Kirkbride or Vivec or whoever's writing it, but I don't know. The conjunction of the two is puzzling.
Another thought, just to kind of carry on the
East and West.
Yes, Azura is the Dusk and Dawn, and East and West is what Johnny Anonymous is saying. But I'm also curious that this is also the moment that the Hortator becomes linked to Morrowind, because Vivec is marking the Hortator with, in this way, it's wounds that is happening, and with the blessing of I am Azura, Nerevar is becoming star wounded.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. The phrase "star wound" came to me too. But like when I think of the star wound, I think of the
mountain. The volcano.
Well, no, I think of the Kirkbride concept art with the ash ghouls and stuff. Where it calls their exploded heads the star wound.
Oh, in which case is the star in this case the heart of Lorcan?
That was my suggestion. Yeah. The star wound would be the volcano, which was created.
If considering just that piece of art, I always considered it star as like a stand-in for divinity.
Yes. All of which fits with Corpus, because the heart and divinity and being maimed
infected,
by it, maimed, infected, whichever way you want to put it, it all meshes together really nicely on a symbolic level.
So let's see. So he sealed the wound with blah, blah, blah. At the end of the battle, the Hortator found that he had gathered 7 more spikes. That's 8 total. Spokes. He attempted to attach them to form a staff because he's a fucking idiot, but Vivec would not let him, saying it is not the time for that.
No staff of towers right now, thank you.
No. But it's once again Vivec trying to claim involvement with the staff of towers.
Yeah. Nerevar said, "Where did I find these?" It's important. It's not. I mean, it's partially comedy at the Hortator's expense, but it's also because a lot of times in the Crowleyan sense, wisdom is only found by accident.
Yep. Or with the help of an annoyingly Australian crystal skull.
Okay. What?
Did you even play the Sigit quest line in ESO?
Oh yes.
It's the worst quest line.
Is that okay?
He's either Australian or New Zealand. Sometimes I have a hard time separating those two.
Okay.
But he talks about how it's either made of water or cats. I'm not sure.
Vivec said that they had collected them from around the world, though some had come invisibly. See, I am the wheel, he said, and took that shape. Before the emptiness at the center could live too long, Nerevar put in the spokes. So Vivec becomes an Arbic wheel, or at least he becomes the structure of the Arbic wheel. So,
I think of a spider in the middle of a web.
Maybe, but the point is that, like, at the beginning of this sermon, Vivec becomes greater than he had been. The end of the sermon, it seems to happen again. Vivec takes on the form of the wheel,
which is an atlas of smoke.
In the next sermon, in the next sermon, we're going to have Vivec's confrontation with who he is. So I would strongly suggest that the right way to interpret the events of this sermon is that Vivec has become all that Z can be. And that this is the point, at least in this sermon or between this sermon and the next sermon, Vivec realizes that Z is at a kind of like a peak of evolution. It's what peak evolution
plateau,
looks
so to
like.
speak.
Yeah, exactly. And
it's also a realization of, it's a demonstration of Chim, basically.
Yes.
Yeah, you may not like it, but this is what peak performance
looks like. Peak performance looks like, exactly. And it's wheel shaped. Yeah. And I think that this is forgive me, I think the wheel is a turning point for Vivec's like evolution as a character, for Vivec's character arc in this book, in this story, because this is sort of it becomes those asshole wheel enemies from Dark Souls. I'm so fucking triggered right now, Johnny. Oh, Jesus, shit, they don't ever give up. And just when you think you've killed them all, another one comes right out of left field and takes that one sliver of health you used to have.
What?
And then you die. Okay, anyway, all right. They're on torture wheels is what they are. Which, by the way, I mean, yet another like thing of like, you know, the insidious nature of the Arbus is that, you know, people used to get tortured on wheels, and here we are in a wheel-shaped Arbus.
Including St. Catherine, if I remember correctly, or one of the St. Catherines.
One of them.
I think
is there several?
Yes, because I've heard the story of the Italian St. Catherine, and she didn't get tortured, at least not in that sense. But she got what's called broken on the wheel. One St. Catherine got broken on the wheel, which is why we have Catherine wheels. That's why they're called that way.
Right.
But no, getting broken on the wheel is not pleasant. You are spread eagled on this thing. It is spun round
tied
and
down. Yeah,
and tied down and then beaten until everything
breaks.
If
they spin it, your centripetal force is bringing the core of your body.
They don't spin it that. My understanding is they didn't spin it that fast, but they beat you so that your body gets crushed into the spaces between the spokes.
Yeah,
and
it's not fun.
Yeah, that's what does the trick.
Yeah.
And and then they leave you there, and they put you up on a big pole, and you'd fucking die in the sun, and it's like crucifixion with extra steps.
Yeah. Not pleasant.
So okay. Ending of the words is OMCV. Here's the thing about, I mentioned this in the wrap up in the New Whirling School, is the idea of the heroic journey that, according to like Jung, and it's. All right, so Jung proposed in the earliest days of what we now consider modern psychology that there were 12 archetypes of personalities. If this reminds you any bit of the
Zodiac?
I wasn't going to go Zodiac. I was going to go with the INTJ and all that shit.
Yeah, that's the Myers-Briggs.
Myers-Briggs test, yes, which are based on Jungian psychology. So there were 12 archetypes of personalities. An individual could share aspects with several of these 12, but one would dominate above the rest. Each of these archetypes pulled these aspects from ancient myths, caregivers, rebels, rulers, creators, etc. The hero's main objective was to achieve goals through the physical strength and acts of single-minded purpose. They are obsessed with winning, but they are not as focused on the specifics of what they've won. Young men and women might identify strongly with the hero archetype and part because it is a very youthful caricature. Like a child, the hero's inability to see the full depth of reality means that it is often reliant on guidance from a wise person who is often the hero's parents or guardians. In the 36 lessons, of course, Nerevar is the hero, and he receives his lessons from Vivec. One of the requisite performances of the hero is to return from battle, something Nerevar has just done by performing the primary aspect of the hero archetype. Nerevar won his battles against the heavens. The fact that he did not achieve a goal that he did not fully understand in the first place is irrelevant. The hero just performs acts. He does not have to comprehend the reason behind those acts. This sounds a lot like a player character who didn't read the quest log. Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, although I would argue that that Nerevar didn't win his battle against the heavens. They're trying to subdue the heavens with an axe, and then they give up.
But he did. He chopped the shit out of all of the craters, and so they say and so he says like he laid the craters to waste. So for a hero, that's winning.
Made a crater of those craters.
Yeah, man. But this also reveals why the hero can be a harmful archetype. Nerevar fights with regard only to attaining victory, and a hero can be directed to do evil simply because he is so easily manipulated. And because the hero's journey, in this Joseph Campbell sense, ends with the hero returning and distributing the spoils of victory, the hero falls short when life continues after the story ends. How can the hero's idiom cope with post-war conditions? How can the hero mourn for the dead? Who will deal with the repercussions of violence? In many respects, the relationship between Nerevar and Vivec outlines the limitations of Campbell's hero's journey structure when compared to Carl Jung's spiritual exploration. Campbell might have adequately explained the structure of a myth, but Jung explains what must come after, what must become for, and what happens after. So, the chat's talking about Myers-Briggs. It is basically a horoscope. I maintain that the Myers-Briggs personality tests have value in the same respect that I'd say more so than horoscopes do, but for much the same reason. The main issue that I have with the main reason why I would suggest people take Myers-Briggs is for self-awareness, so that they can read the result that it's come out and then think about the aspects of themselves when they read their full description. And just in the process of reading the description and saying that's not me at all, you do gain some insight. And secondly, the reason why what I would suggest is that, HR departments use Myers-Briggs. It's ridiculous. The second reason that I would suggest is if you do take a Myers-Briggs exam, the result that when you take the exam, try to answer the questions from a perspective of a situation. Like, for example, answer the questions when you answer the questions, try to envision the way you would react to the questions at work or at home or with your parents or with your friends or some other very specific situation, and also try to limit it to at least 1 or 2 years in the past. The reason for that is that we change the way that we move, the way that our personalities work change depending on time and the situation that we're in and the people that we're with, and they change in ways that the Myers-Briggs exams do not support. And in fact, I have had Myers-Briggs exams given to me by HR companies who told me outright, you're always that one personality type and it never changes. And I wanted to scream at them, but I also didn't want to get in trouble.
Well, I mean, and more contemporary psychological study has showed how inaccurate it is. I mean, the theory of multiple intelligences, which has a lot more scientific backing to it, kind of undermines everything the Myers-Briggs is about in the first place. Understanding that. I mean, and it's also the whole reason why IQ tests, like, I don't trust IQ tests because it's you can't quantify something that's qualitative. You can't assign a number to something that's subjective and
I love Wayne. The 16 personality types according to Christian white people from 1910. Yeah. Accurate. So accurate.
Yeah, but I mean, especially dealing with like child psychology. I mean, these are the kinds of things that I need to be aware of. And so when I say that Myers-Briggs is essentially a horoscope, I'm saying is it's everything that's described in there can apply to everyone in some way or another. And I mean, it's why you look through Libra, whether you're a Libra. I'm a Pisces personally. I look through Libra. Oh yeah, that accurately describes me because that's kind of how it's designed. The same way fortune cookies, they're vague on purpose. They kind of give,
they're vague on purpose.
You're such a hard worker, and everyone
and you
loves
value your friends, and you like to have alone time, but for some people you're happy to hang out with them and talk, but sometimes you just want to be alone and cozy, and
that's
you have emotions, and and you own things.
Yay.
It's like when Bo Burnham was making fun of love songs in the 20th century, and the song "Repeat Stuff." I know you don't like
it's so somebody mentioned the tarot in chat. The tarot is good for self-reflection. I would suggest that if the tarot works for you, you do it often and on a regular basis, because you need to constantly re-examine yourself within the mode that you're in. That's the key to self-awareness. One of the many keys of self-awareness is that you have to understand that you change all the time, and because otherwise it'd be easy to figure out, and nothing worth doing is so. Hello, Thetan. What's going on? What are we talking about? So the tarot has prettier art than Myers-Briggs. Accurate.
Yes.
And so we kind of had a short one today.
Yeah.
Only about an hour,
which is fine.
I mean, it's a pretty short sermon.
18's going to be fun.
Yes.
How much?
We want to take. I think we want to take a whole section for that one. I think there's a fair amount in there.
Yeah.
Mind you, we said there was a fair amount in 17, but
there is a fair amount, but 18 is going to be complex for a lot of other reasons, and also because we're going to be doing the giveaway. I wanted to do it for Sermon 18, so we'll
Makes
do
sense.
that in 2 weeks.
Cool.
So hey, you guys get to get let out early. You don't have to wait for the bell. Congratulations.
Yep.
Have you tried playing with text-to-image generators using the tarot card as a suffix? I have not. I will actually try that. I've been thinking about. Well, I'll tell you what. We'll stop the cast here because I'm about to. I can feel us going clean off the rails. And so everybody, thanks very much. We're going to keep casting for a little bit because I want to talk to Chad about some stuff, some fun stuff.
Yes.
All
I
right.
gotta go let my dog out.
Yeah,
if you have any questions, please do email us at selectiveslorecast@gmail.com.
And and thanks very much. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.